Hey guys, it's Jamie and Skylar, and we are here today to give you my long-awaited labor and delivery story, as well as her 1-month update. So if you want to hear about how Miss Skylar made her debut into this world, and also hear about how she's doing 1 month after birth, stay tuned. All right, so let's start off with the labor and delivery. So it all started on Friday, July 1st. It was the day before my due date, and I was still pregnant, which I didn't expect. Nobody expected. Like, I felt like she was going to be at least 2 weeks early. But homegirl held on to the very end. So I went to my very last appointment. We had already planned for induction for I think a week after that date. It was actually a week and a few days after my due date, and we were ready to go. I was getting my last exam, and at this point we still didn't know her gender, so we waited until she was born to find out whether the baby was a girl or a boy. So we had our last appointment. The doctor, while she was examining me, she asked if I wanted her to sweep my membrane. And I'm like, is it gonna hurt? And she's like, it might hurt, but I'm already in there, and it could help with making you deliver so you don't have to be induced. And that was the last thing I wanted, was to be induced, because I was afraid that it was going to make me have an unnecessary C-section. So I said, okay, go ahead. So she did that. I went home that Friday, went to my mom's house. I was just so big and uncomfortable at that point. And I'll insert a picture. I think this picture is actually from that day. Or it was either that day or the day before, but I think it was that day. So I went home, I laid out on my mom's recliner for the rest of the day. And the doctor did warn me that this might be TMI, but if you're watching this video, then expect maybe to hear a little bit of TMI. But she told me that the membrane sweep could cause a little bit of bleeding. She said as long as it's not a large amount, it's totally normal. So I got home. I had just a little bit of spotting, and I actually started having contractions a few hours later after the appointment. But they weren't consistent or anything. I wasn't in labor. In fact, I didn't even know if they were real contractions or Braxton Hicks. Later on, I found out that they were real contractions, but at that time I didn't know. And they were very inconsistent. So I just, hung out, whatever, stayed at my mom's, went home, went to sleep. So that night, the contractions actually stopped probably around 10 or 11 o'clock, and I didn't have any more overnight. So that's how I knew, obviously, that I was not in active labor. So the next day, ran a few errands with my mom. I think I went to go get my eyebrows done or something crazy, because I didn't want to look crazy while I delivered. Of course, that's what I was thinking about before delivery. I think I was probably really just trying to get my mind off of the contractions and everything that was going on. So throughout this day, the second on my due date, I was still having contractions all throughout the day. But again, like I said, it was irregular. I didn't know at that point if they were real contractions or not. So I just kind of toughed it out, sat through it when they came, and just went about my business. So that night into the next morning, fast forward to about 4:45 in the morning, I started feeling contractions again. But they were a little closer together, and they were painful to the point that they started waking me up out of my sleep. So I got up and I sat there. Nabil's beside me, and I sat there. I'm like, okay, is this the real deal or no? And so I kept feeling like I had to use the bathroom, the number 2, which I have read that is also a sign that labor is about to start. If you just constantly are using the bathroom number 2, not when it's late in labor and that feeling is you about to pop the baby out. I wasn't there, but I legitimately had to use the bathroom. So I thought I felt something pop. So I got up, I used the bathroom. There was a lot more blood now. When I felt the pop, I thought my water had broke, but then there was nothing. It was just, you know, the blood or whatever. So I wasn't quite sure, so I put a pad on and I laid back in bed, and the whole time I'm just like looking around like, okay, do I wake Nabil up or do I not wake him up? I said, okay, I'm gonna let him sleep as long as he can, since this could possibly be a long day. You hear stories about people's labor lasting forever and ever. So I got back into bed, I laid down, I had another contraction. At this point, it was 5:15 and my water broke. For sure it broke. Like, I felt my water break. So I woke Nabil up and I said, Nabil, you gotta get up. I think it's time for us to go to the hospital. And he goes, what, your water broke? I said, yeah. He said, okay, I'm gonna go pack the car. And that was it, very calm. I said, okay. So he went downstairs, packed up the car. We already had the hospital bag packed, hospital bags, plural, packed. So he put that in, he put the car seat in. While he was doing that, I decided to get in the shower, because I heard everybody talking about how you just want to take a shower before you go in the hospital. So I did that. He was all the way downstairs, I'm all the way upstairs. That was probably not a good idea, because I was in pain. Like, when those contractions hit while I was in the shower, in my mind I'm just like, I'm gonna deliver this baby in this tub. I know this is about to happen. So, but I made it through my shower. I got out, I called the doctor, and she asked me kind of how far apart the contractions were. At that point, I had an app on my phone where I was tracking them, so I could tell her how far apart they were. At that point, they were 4 to 6 minutes apart. And so she told, and I did tell her my water broke, so she said, come on to the hospital and they'll bring you back right away. So get in the car, we head to the hospital. Everything was fine in between contractions. Like, I was calm the whole time, really, even through the contractions. I just breathed through them with really deep breaths. And we made it to the hospital, made it up to the registration for the maternity labor and delivery unit. They took my it was nobody at the desk at first, so I was a little irritated. So I had to wait for somebody to come out, and then they took me back. I told them my water had broke. They took me back because they had to see that it had broke. And I'm like, man, you can see that it broke, okay? But so they took me back. She looked, she said, okay, wait outside in the waiting area. We're getting your room ready. So they gave me a wheelchair. At that point, my family had gotten there, and Nabil's mom and brother. So they only allowed 4 people back in the room at a time. But it was my sister, both of my sisters, Tammy and Charlene, my mom and my dad, and then Nabil's mom and his brother. So they kind of took turns going in and out of the room to sit with me and Nabil while throughout the labor. I labored on my own without any medication up until 6.5 centimeters. And at that point, my blood pressure started going up. What you guys didn't know is that at the end of my pregnancy, I started, like, the last maybe couple weeks, I started having some issues with my blood pressure where it started being really high. I didn't have preeclampsia or anything like that, but it was just bordering too high. So during my labor, it had started to go up again. And by the time, and the contractions, honestly, they were not that bad to me. I mean, obviously it was painful, but in my mind, I just kept thinking it's only gonna last for a minute tops. So I can push through the pain for a minute and then I get a break. But when my blood pressure went up, they made me turn over on my side to lay, because apparently that allows your blood flow to be better, and your blood pressure, it helps your blood pressure go down without any medication. As soon as I laid on my side, that pain got so bad, like the contractions were so bad on my side. And at that point, that's when I was like, okay, get the anesthesiologist in here. I'm gonna need the epidural. So It took her a while to get there. So I was probably more than 6.5 centimeters, but that's when I requested it. So she came, gave me the epidural, and I just left it at the minimum dosage for a really long time because I really wanted to be able to feel my legs and be able to feel like when to push and things like that. So the epidural actually makes your blood pressure go down, so that's a good thing. So I was able to turn back over on my back. I even took a nap at that point, and I woke up. I could still feel the contractions, but they weren't excruciatingly painful, but I could still feel them. So fast forward a few hours, I started feeling the contractions more frequently and closer together. And so at that point, I'm like telling them, you know, it's really painful at that point. And they said, you know, there's nothing we can do. It's the baby moving down. We want the baby to keep moving down. I kept asking them to have the doctor come in and check me because I'm like, okay, I feel like it's time for me to push this baby out. Like, this hurts. And they said, no, it's not time yet. We're not going to have her come in yet because it's not time. We don't want you to start pushing too early. So I sat through it. At that point, that's when I did the little clicker and started pumping that epidural up. So it did end up getting to the point where I was completely numb from the waist down. And by the time the doctor came back, well, actually, the nurse checked me and I was 10 centimeters. So she called the doctor in. Like I said, at that point, I couldn't feel anything. So I couldn't even move my legs. When it was time for me to start pushing, everybody left the room. So it was just me and Nabil in there. So they, you know, Nabil held one leg, the nurse held the other leg, and the nurse was watching the monitor to tell me when to push. So they kind of gave me a demo on how to push. We did a practice one, and I pushed through 3 contractions, and she was here. So it was very quick. She came out very quick, painless for me, obviously, because I was drugged up. I did have some tearing, but it wasn't, you know, it's what's normal. So yeah, so that's when she came out, and the doctor said it's and she held her up, and I saw her and I screamed out, it's a girl. So thus Skylar was here with us, crying like most babies do, and we were just completely in love. Of course I cried as soon as I saw her because I just cried. I'm surprised I wasn't crying before then. So after she was born, they put her on my chest. We did skin to skin, and then Nabil went with them when they took her to the side of the room to do the weighing and all of that. And yeah, that was it. Then Nabil went out to get his family and my family, and they kind of took turns to come in and see her. And they didn't know that whether it was a girl or a boy, so it was fun to see their faces when they walked in the room and found out that it was a girl. So her name is Skylar Carol Smith, and the Carol is actually my mom's middle name. So my mom was super excited about that when she heard that. It was really sweet. So yeah, that is it for the labor and delivery. This is all from my memory, which still seems so vivid. I feel like I remember it from like it just happened yesterday. So, but let me know if I missed anything or if you have any questions. So I have a confession. Skylar, at the time of this taping, is actually almost 2 months old. I'm a little behind, but I still wanted to come on and give her 1 month update because I just want to have it, you know, for documenting, for, you know, when we have future children and everything, so that I can compare, and also to give you guys an idea of, you know, what developments and things like that she made at 1 month. She is knocked out because she just ate, and she stayed up for a good little while, but she couldn't stay awake long enough for me to get ready to film the video. So we'll just have to do it with her sound asleep. Hopefully she'll wake up by the end so you guys can see her little face. So at 1 month, there aren't very many developmental milestones, I guess, that newborns make. So basically at that time she was sleeping most of the time and eating. If she wasn't eating, she was asleep. I am breastfeeding, so she has been a really good feeder since her birth. We never had any issues with, like, you know, pain or cracked sore nipples or anything like that. She's just been really good since birth. Now, I like to think that the breastfeeding class and all the classes that I took beforehand helped, because I kind of had an idea of how to help her get a good latch and things like that. So if you're pregnant, I highly recommend taking those classes if you do plan to breastfeed. So let's see. When she was born, like I said before, she weighed 7 pounds and 13 ounces. She lost weight, as most babies do. By the time her first visit, which was 2 days after she was born, she was 7 pounds and 2 ounces. So she had lost 11 ounces, which is pretty normal. So over the next 2 weeks, they expect the baby to gain back to their birth weight. That shows that they're feeding properly and that they're growing well. So at 2 weeks, I think it was actually a couple days after she was 2 weeks, we had another appointment. She was about 2 ounces short of gaining her birth weight back. So we were kind of on baby watch. So we were kind of on baby watch just to make sure that she did gain her weight back. So she had an extra appointment, I think it was a week after that, and she had gained back plus you know, up to the normal amount at that point. And then her last appointment that she had, which was the day before she was 1 month, she weighed 8 pounds and 5 ounces. So that was her weight as of 1 month. As far as like developments go, like I said, she was sleeping and eating most of the time, with the exception of that very last week. So about week 4, the start of week 4 into, you know, the 5th week when she became 1 month, she started smiling while she was awake. Now, all babies kind of do this sleep smile thingy. So they smile in their sleep while they're sleeping, and it's, you know, they say they're dreaming of angels. That's the old wives' tale. If you look it up, there's many different theories of why they smile. One of them is it's just a reflex and it's not really indicating that they're happy, but I like to think that she was having good dreams. And so she was doing that from birth all the way up until like week 4. But then at week 4, she started actually smiling at us when we would talk to her, which was so fun. Oh my gosh. I think I have a picture of her first smile that I'll insert right here. So that was like her first series of smiles, and it's just so sweet. It just melts your heart. She also, at the very end, she started to become very gassy, and so she started to get fussy like week 3 through 1 month old. She started getting fussy. She was having a lot of gas, a lot of baby farts. They do not smell good. Whoever said that breastfed poops don't stink, it's not true. So yeah, so she was passing a lot of gas, and she started spitting up more. Not anything more than normal. All babies kind of do a little spit up after they eat, so she was doing that. Every now and then she would have some like true vomits, but the doctor, you know, I called the doctor. They weren't concerned. They said, you know, if it continues or if it's every time she eats or anything like that, then to call that, but every once in a while was normal. So and then for the gas, they just told me that I could give her the Mylicon drops. Those are gas drops, and they seem to work pretty well. They calm her down pretty well. So we've been using those ever since. At that point, when she, between 3 weeks and a month, we were using them like after every feeding because her gas was so bad. So let's see what else. She was born with a full head of hair, and at 1 month it was still very full. It was also still very straight. It would curl up when it's wet, but as soon as it dries, if she lay on it, it gets straight again. So there was that. Also, when she was born, she had the longest nails of any baby that anybody's ever seen. Like literally everybody who saw her commented on how ridiculously long her nails were. I don't know what she was doing in there or what I was eating to make her nails grow that long, but they were really long. So I do have to cut her nails even now, like once a week, maybe sometimes even more frequently than that, because they just grow really fast. Also, at 1 month, as soon as she was born, we started kind of doing tummy time, because we learned in our classes that you should start doing that even as early as in the hospital. So we wouldn't just lay her flat on her stomach. We would either prop her up on the boppy pillow, or we would, you know, I would lay her on my chest and do it. And she got progressively better over the month. So she was doing pretty good with holding her head up. Also, for her whole first month, she stayed in newborn size clothes. She's not quite a fat baby, but we're working on it. But she's not necessarily underweight, or she wasn't, at least at 1 month. I'm not sure about now. We gotta wait until we go to the doctor again. But she was growing pretty well. She's just a little smaller. So she was still in newborn clothes at that time. Alright, so here she is, Miss Skylar. She's waking up now, so I guess I'll show you guys her. You say hi, baby. You say hi. My little squirmy baby. So yeah, so that is it for Skylar's 1 month update. Like I said, she's a bit older than that now, but I still wanted to do the video. Alright, so thank you guys for watching. I hope that you enjoyed the video. And we will see you next time. Ooh, she gave y'all a big smile. We will see y'all next time in Skylar's 2 month update. Alright.